Good evening. This is Emily. I am here this evening with Erica Stancliff of Trombetta Wines. So she will be joining us momentarily. And those of you that caught our first Instagram Live a few weeks ago, we had a lot of fun. They have stunning wines from Sonoma County, and it's family owned. And Erica is the daughter, and she's also the winemaker. Very, very cool story. So we will be sharing it with you momentarily when Erica gets on and joins. Oh, hi, Nate. Hey, guys. Okay, just give me one moment. I have a question. Do any of you guys know how to make a comment on here and leave it at the top so I can just leave the comment that I'm here with lovely Erica? If anybody knows the answer to that, please comment below. Okay, great. Erica's here. I'm going to invite her to join.
There we go.
Good evening. Hi.
Hello.
Let me just update my, oh my God, what do we call these things? The stand? Oh, we talked about this last time.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, hold on. How do I?
Yeah, because it looks perfect, and then when you go halfsies, it's like one of us gets cut off. Hi,
Exactly.
how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
All is well. It's Thursday, and I'm actually leaving town tomorrow, which I'm probably not supposed to say because technically that's not allowed in California, but I'm road tripping to Washington and Oregon to help out with some family in Seattle. And then, of course, I paid back a few days of wine visits on the way there and back.
Well, then technically it's a work visit, so you're fine.
Oh, yeah, you're allowed to do work travel? Okay, good.
Yes.
Yes, well, it's very heavy work. And then I'm going to be working, taking care of my nieces, so exactly.
Yes, so it is a necessary travel.
Yes. Well, good. So here we are today. I got really excited as I was pouring the wines. We have a rosé, 2 of your Chardonnay, and then the Gaps Crown Pinot. I don't know if we're going to be able to go down that rabbit hole again. We had so much fun talking about Gaps Crown.
I know. That was awesome. Here, hold on. I'm going to turn up the volume just a little bit more.
Okay.
But I got my Coravin working, so now I don't have to feel bad about, having a bottle that's only going to be like a little bit.
I know. I Coravin them all, especially because I'm leaving tomorrow. I don't want to waste any good wine.
Exactly. I know. I'm bringing these for lunch tomorrow at work with the crew on the crush pad. So I'm like,
oh,
okay,
that's
I don't
nice.
want to open them. Yeah.
Good. Well, where would you like to start? I've got all of my wines pre-poured.
Well, I've already poured the rosé. I mean, that's kind of where I started once I got home.
Okay, let me show this beautiful bottle to everybody. So this is your rosé of Pinot Noir. Do you want to tell everybody sort of the style and anything about this? They might not know if they didn't get to talk to the winemaker.
Yes. So our rosé, we only made about 125 cases, and it is a little bit of direct press from my parents' home property, so our Trombetta estate, if that's what we want to call it, our 200 vines of Pinot. And then there's a little bit of bleed from Gaps Crown Vineyard in the Petaluma Gap and a few other really awesome Sonoma Coast vineyards. So it's kind of a really nice balance between texture from that direct press and really pretty bright acid, but then also some nice round mouth feel from that Saunier and a little bit of neutral barrel.
And this color, I'm just sitting here smiling at it. It's so beautiful. It's like a deep peach, right?
Yes. No, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about, so rosé can be anything. It can be so many different colors, so many spectrums, but for me, I really like that kind of lighter, more delicate pink where it doesn't look like in your face bubblegum pink, but it has some nice kind of, more of that smoked salmon, peachy kind of color to it.
It's fun. Yeah, I do love the descriptor smoked salmon peachy, even though I'm not a salmon eater, but I love smoked salmon colored wines.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, well, it's delicious. So speaking of food, I shared an interview with Erica on the blog today, guys. So if you want to learn some cool little secrets about her, visit the blog. And we share a mutual favorite restaurant in Healdsburg. I think we talked about this before, Valette.
Yes.
I know you had a tiebreaker between Valette and Willie's, and I've actually never been to Willie's, but for me, like, I cannot pass through Healdsburg without going to Valette. So basically, if I had 2 nights, it's like Valette one night, and then where am I going the next? So we're actually, I'm gonna hopefully the next time I'm up, you and I can go to Villette together.
No, that'd be great. It's funny because we went to Willie's Wine Bar last night. I was on this local radio show, talk radio show, and afterwards I was like, I really need a glass of wine. So my husband and I went into Willie's Wine Bar, and then tomorrow is actually our 1-year wedding anniversary, so we're going to Villette for dinner. So I'm like,
perfect.
I get the best of both worlds here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to text Dustin that we were chit-chatting about him on our IG Live. They are just the sweetest family, Dustin and Aaron and his dad, Pops.
Oh, Bob's amazing.
Yeah, and their girls and his wife. I mean, that's what I love about Healdsburg. It's so small and intimate, and everyone's just like, you know, best friends with each other. Exactly.
It's a small town. Sonoma County is just a bunch of small towns that happen to be next to each other.
Yeah.
So you pretty much, like, if you're from West County, you most likely know almost everybody. If you're from Santa Rosa, you most likely know everybody. It's kind of one of those little...
And you live in Santa Rosa, right?
I live in Santa Rosa, but I am a West County born and raised girl from Forestville, right by the Russian River.
Yeah, no, I know. We talked about Forestville last time. So I've spent a little bit of time up there, and it's lovely. Like backyard, their fried chicken.
Oh yeah.
And Farmhouse Inn. Oh gosh, I'm hoping I can go back for another visit now that they're reopening.
I know everything's starting to open up again, which is really nice. So I did see a little question pull up on the thing about the lighter, the rosé. So typically, I mean, it really depends. Color just means how much contact it had with the skins. So a lot of times when you see something lighter that's more, like I said, that bubblegum pink, it's probably going to be Saunier, which tends to mean that you had red wine grapes that came in, and then you took a little bit of the juice out of the tank the first day that you put it into tank for cold soak or fermentation or whatever. So you took some of that juice out, really short contact time with the skin, so it didn't get a lot of color. Ones that tend to be a little more like this kind of peachy color is because of the direct press. And direct press means it came in as grapes. You put it into a press right away. No sorting, no destemming, no nothing. Put it in, press the juice off. So it had very minimal, very light contact with the skins. It's kind of the same method that they do in Champagne with their Blanc de Noirs, is just get it off the skins really quickly.
So when you direct press, you press it and the skins go away, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you're basically taking it, the press that we use, it's called a bladder press, and it's kind of this long cylindrical piece. Here, I'm gonna use my Topo Chico.
Oh, I was like, you have the press right there to show us?
Yeah, right. I wish.
Doesn't look like you're in the winemaking facility, but okay.
Yeah, right. So you have like this round cylinder, and one half of it has grates, like a cheese grater kind of situation, and the other half of it has a bladder that inflates with air and pushes the grapes up against the grates. So the juice comes down and fills up this big sump underneath, and then we can put it into tank or barrel. And so typically with direct press, I find that they tend to be more acid driven and a little bit crisper, whereas the Saunier, because you're bleeding it out of the tank, tends to be, that style can either be fuller mouthfeel or it can be a little bit on the sweeter side, because you're taking away the sugar and the water from the juice out of that tank, and you're not really getting any of the seed or skin tannin or anything else extracted into there, because it's just, the grapes are sitting on each other, they start to kind of slowly press down on each other, and then you get that juice out. So there's no mechanism actually pressing the grapes and breaking those skins open.
By the way, this person that asked that question is one of my most dedicated viewers, Christian, and he also was the convert last time when we were talking about Chardonnay.
Chardonnay, that's right.
And I brought him the Four Brothers Chardonnay after. We met at the dog park. I'm hoping he's going to meet me tonight after this. And he had that Chardonnay, and he's like, oh my God, I know what she means. I get it.
Yes.
So this is so cool. You guys, like, even if you didn't buy these wines ahead of time and aren't tasting with us, this is just such good. Oh, hi, Eric. Oh my God. He's also on all these. I love him. It's so good to just like take this knowledge, those of you that want to geek out with us, and like go home and taste like a bigger Russian River Chardonnay, which is like what we're having today, next to a more leaner. Are we the other one's the Sonoma Coast, right?
Sonoma Mountain.
Sonoma Mountain, the Four Brothers, and I mean, yeah, if you don't want to geek out, you can just drink beautiful wine and go home and do that
Exactly.
too.
And also to answer, I just see another one right there. Question. So I wouldn't say visually there's a way to tell, because it's really hard to determine by color. The best way to tell, honestly, and I usually am not an advocate of this, is just reading the label. What you do is just see what AVA is it from, which should give you an idea stylistically. Like if it's coastal, you're probably going to get a little bit more acid from it. If it's something a little bit in a warmer climate, you're more likely to have something a little sweeter. Or, you know, also the darker the color, that just depends on the varietal. So it's kind of like one of those situations.
Funny. I try not to stereotype, but usually when I look at the color, I'll know if I like it. And anything that's like too dark and more like red or deep fuchsia, I'm like, I'm not going to like that rosé. And it's just like when people say they don't like Chardonnay, although 9 times out of 10 I'm right. Like it's very rare that I like a dark colored rosé. So I guess to your point, I lean more towards the style where you do the direct press and the skins go away and it stays lighter, right?
No, definitely. And like, it's actually funny. I'm trying to see if I have one on my, at my house. We have this, like, my wine fridge is right there.
Yeah.
And you can see all the boxes of wine next to it with our little trampoline. And so I'm like, do I have one of my friends makes a really beautiful, but it's very dark colored rosé.
Yeah.
It is a Cab Franc rosé. So that's why it's like.
Which brand?
T. Berkeley. He's based out of Napa. Sorry, my stand is like going crazy.
I don't know that one. Yeah. Cab Franc rosés, I've had a few. I don't even remember what they taste like. I think I'm always like, oh, what's this? That's interesting.
No, and that's the thing is like Cab Franc rosés don't tend to have the same fruit characteristics that some of the other lighter varietals do. Like I love Grenache rosé and I love Pinot rosé because they just tend to have more of that strawberry red fruit forwardness. Whereas Cab Franc tends to be a little bit more savory on that side. So you get more of like this kind of, like, I don't want to say herbal because you associate herbal with bad things.
It's like green pepper and the still wine is very herbal, right? Yeah.
So you get, you know, in my opinion, you get more of this like rosemary kind of savory herb characteristic, not that green Pirazini green bell pepper seed characteristic. But that's just, you know, like it also depends because you can have absolutely beautiful Cab Franc rosé and you can have Cab Franc rosé that you're like, this is not my thing.
By the way, I'm totally taking notes. When I look down, I'm just taking notes because I feel like I learned so much during these sessions. And actually I was jotting down that I need to add this rosé to my favorite rosé blog post because I'm really loving it. So it's a new addition. So whenever I get a moment to update the blog, that'll be going on.
Oh, that'll be awesome. I'm happy to hear
how much is this rosé, by the way? I forget.
It is $28.
And oh my God, what a steal.
Yeah, so we have a limited amount. Sorry, I keep moving this because my stand is like one of those weird tripods that starts to slip out.
I'm like, that's okay. I can move
so we sell a lot of our wine directly to customers. So the best place to go is on our website, trombettawines.com, and check it out there. But we do have a limited amount of the rosé. I think we sold out, you know, we just released it in March, and I think we sold out, well, didn't sell out, sorry. We sold about 50% of it within the first like 2 weeks of release. So I don't know how much is left, but you definitely, like, if you want to try this rosé, go to the website. That's going to be the best
we both shared on social media. There's a special offer. If you use the code JSF, you could buy the 4-pack. And obviously just mention it so they know that, you know, you heard about this through our Instagram live together. But yeah, I mean, what a great price. $28. Can't beat that. We're so warped, by the way, that we think $28 for a bottle of wine is affordable. But in the caliber and quality of wine we're talking about and the farming you guys do and, you know, where you're sourcing your grapes, that is a steal.
Exactly. It really is. And it's, you know, it's funny today, like I get all of the wine industry and wine business emails and whatnot. And Post Malone's rosé dropped, I guess, like 4 days ago.
Wine industry? I didn't see that. Was that in this afternoon's email?
I think it was in either that or wine business, whatever's, or drinks business, sorry, from the UK. And he sold out 4,200 cases of $22 Provençal rosé within the first 3 hours of it being live on the website. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Wow. It's like Kendall Jenner and her makeup.
That's the exact comparison my husband used.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even understand these. Anyway, yeah. I'm sure the wine's great. I'm just saying these celebrities behind stuff, it's crazy the purchasing power they have and the influence.
Well, but my point is just that it's like, you know, if you can sell out $22 Provençal rosé that quickly, like, I mean, it sounds skewed, but you think about the price of rosé and it really does relate back to like who the winemaker is, the quality, where it was farmed and everything else. And I did look it up. He actually has a really legit winemaker in France making his rosé who has worked some amazing places. Yeah. So I was like, okay, respect. I can respect this.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, so speaking of celebrities, I just did a top 10 Black-owned wineries blog post because, you know, with Black Lives Matter, I was like, this is a void. Why don't I have this content? And I just, you know, it was on me. I didn't have it, so I added it. And I guess the basketball player D-Wade, I'm actually not familiar with him. Clearly, I'm not aware of current NBA celebrities. He has a winery with a legendary winemaker who came from Palmyra, I think. Okay. And, and I'm obsessed with that Cab Franc. I had it a couple months ago during or Merlot. I had it during Merlot month, and I was like, well, if that's his winemaker, I know the wines are going to be good, and I'm going to write about them. I haven't even tried them, but it's sort of cool, you know, just when you get to know, like, as long as you trust the winemaker and, you know, their background, you're good.
No, definitely. I mean, and that's the thing is, like, when you start to try wines that you like and you realize and you kind of start to figure out who winemakers are and what they do stylistically, it's really easy to follow them through the industry, whether they work for, you know, one brand or they have multiple brands, because you know kind of what it is you're going to get and you might be able to expand your horizons a little bit. Whereas, like, I know a few winemakers who, for one brand, they make Russian River Pinot only, and then for another brand, they make Santa Lucia Highlands Pinot, and so it's you get to see, right? You get to see. I mean, I love them
all, but SLH has a special place in my heart. I went on a song trip there. It was 40 songs in me, and I learned so much about it.
I'm kind of obsessed with the Sierra Mar Vineyard, Gary Francione. Like I'm
Gary's Vineyard. Yeah, I learned to drop fruit at Gary's Vineyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. God. And his like sons are so cool, and he's best friends with like Adam Lee and Gary Pisoni. I love the Pisoni family. Yeah, they're just it's like Sonoma. They're just cool, down to earth, awesome people. Well, maybe you guys should make a Santa Lucia Highland Pinot Noir.
Eventually, one day, as we grow and get out of Sonoma County, I definitely would love to. I mean, I was really lucky. I got to work with Sierra Mar and Rosella's vineyards from down there, and I'm like, Sierra Mar has my heart as far as vineyards down there. It's beautiful.
So is that the same one as Gary's Vineyard, or it's next to Gary's Vineyard?
I think it's the furthest south of the three. So it's near Gary's Vineyard, but it's in like Gonzales, I think.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we were there for like 3 or 4 days. I don't know if we went to that vineyard. We definitely went to Gary's Vineyard, and we like had a picnic, and we learned to drop fruit, and it was so cool. Well, speaking of wine, I want to make sure we stay on schedule, and I'm out of rosé, which means it's time for the next one. So I'm going to guess the Four Brothers.
Four Brothers, yeah.
Start with the lighter one.
Exactly.
So Vanna White for the viewers. So we talked a lot about this last time. It's so interesting, and it's not like a typical Chardonnay, and I guess you can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. This is my un-Chardonnay Chardonnay.
The un-Chardonnay
of the four I make. And the reason why I call it my un-Chardonnay Chardonnay is just because Sonoma Mountain is amazing. First of all, it's high elevation. It's above the fog line. This takes forever to ripen, if I even would call it ripe. And why I say that?
It smells very green and acidic and unripe, which is probably beautiful for the un-Chardonnay drinkers.
Yes, and it comes in around 22 to 23 bricks. It's really hard to get it above that, which is great, because it just, the acid balance, and then it just really has these gorgeous kind of stone fruit characteristics for me, and that's why I call it un-Chardonnay, because for Chardonnay, a lot of times people think, you know, green apple, lemon, citrus, white flowers, and then of course anything that comes along with the oak, whether that's buttery or
got an interesting
creamy.
spicy nose to it. Is that the oak?
That is the oak. So I have a specific cooper that I've been kind of playing around with coopers over the last few years with this vineyard, and I found what I think is like kind of my silver bullet with what I like to do for oak with it. Yeah. So I use one of the coopers, Orion. They do a water bent instead of the traditional fire bent, so it's a little bit softer on the oak. And then
is that American or French?
It's all. Everything I use is
all
French. Yeah, so it's a French barrel, but to me it's more about texture and fruit elevation and mid-palate enhancing instead of spicy, you know, kind of masking fruit or adding too much oak to it. But, you know, like one of my favorite things with this, when I say stone fruit and everything else, is this wine came in, it went right into the press, and when the juice was in the press pan and I was smelling it, it reminded me of, you know, that unpasteurized Kern's nectarine juice? That's like, so Kern's is a brand. I don't even know if it's around anymore, but it was like kind of the, one of the original.
I know cheese curds.
No, it's Kern, Kerns, and it, basically what it was is it was these unpasteurized cold pressed juices that actually came in like big cartons. This was like long time ago, but you could Odwalla nectarine juice, any of that. That's what it reminded me of. Just nectarine.
I mean, I just love it.
Yeah, it's
I know you were telling us before that Mike from Bonovia, it's him and his brother's vineyard. And I actually emailed him and was like, I love your grapes. I had them with Erica. We talked about that on the IG Live. Yeah, so cool. And remind me again where this is. Oh, Sonoma Mountain. Okay,
Sonoma Mountain. Yep. Yeah, no, and it's funny. I was driving home from work, and I was like, I should probably brush my hair before my Instagram Live today. And Sullivan's like, no, you're fine.
Oh, your braid looks great.
Oh, well, I just got a haircut. I did brush it, so.
I got a haircut like a week and a half ago, so I'm just like so happy.
Oh, Yes, I go in and.
But if I could braid my hair and look as cute as you, I'd do that.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I'm going in finally get my hair cut next week because I'm like this.
I mean, I'm counting down the days so I can get my nails done. It's been so long, like, and a pedicure.
I know. It's the simple things in life that we take for granted and then we can't.
I mean, I've been drinking like the most beautiful wines for the past 3 months. I've been doing these amazing Instagram lives, so that has been phenomenal. But I'll give up a bottle or two of really great wine for a manicure or pedicure if I had to.
No, I totally understand. I mean, like, we went to our first restaurant not too long ago, and the moment we sat down, I was just like, I've missed this. I've missed just sitting and even people watching. Like, I don't need to be near people. Just having someone bring
out
me
just some normalcy. Yeah,
exactly.
I had a very, very small gathering for my birthday in my garden. And you probably saw photos. It was also National Rosé Day. So I saved like all the rosés that I'd been Coravining. And, you know, it's the summer, so everybody sends you rosé samples. And I was like, this is the best lineup of rosé like anybody's going to have at a party. We had your rosé because I had Coravined it from our last IG Live. And, I mean, granted, I made everybody like an individual plate because, you know, we didn't want to share. But it just was like normal. Okay, I'm having a birthday party. Maybe it's 5 or 6 people instead of 30, but it's still a birthday party, and it was great.
No, that's definitely, I mean, we need that social interaction. It's so hard right now, but especially like the birthdays and everything else. We did a Zoom birthday greeting in the middle of April because no one was in the winery. So all of us got on Zoom and we had like 5 birthdays that we had to, you know, say happy birthday to everybody. It was kind of ridiculous, but I mean,
it's better than nothing. I mean,
exactly.
You read all these stories about these graduations and what they did, and people are getting so creative. And I mean, it's exciting. Things are slowly opening up. Hopefully the numbers will stay down. I mean, who can predict? It's like we are just in this unprecedented time frame right now, but wine has helped getting us through.
Yes, very accurate. I've been drinking my fair share of wine and supporting, you know, Sonoma County wineries throughout this whole
Yeah. So
Whole thing.
those that might not know, can you share a little bit about your background? I know that you make wine for Trombetta. You also make for some other really cool brands, which I still need to try all those brands. As I was reading your interview, I'm like, I want to try that Pinot. The only wines I've had that you help make are Cirque. The other ones I've never had.
Yeah, so for Trombetta Family Wines, I'm winemaker, and my mother and I started the brand in 2010. Then I also am consulting winemaker for Stressed Vines, which is a very small brand. We do Chardonnay, Pinot, and Cabernet. And then I also am the winemaker for O'Connell Estate Vineyards. They have the Vine Hill House in Sebastopol, so it's a huge wedding venue. If anyone's gotten,
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's right on the corner of Grayton and 116 behind Furthermore.
Okay. I've driven by Furthermore. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah, Vine Hill and 116. Sorry, yeah. And then the other brand I work for is Fendler Vineyards, and Kimberly has this beautiful property. She has 3 vineyards on the side of Sonoma Mountain in Petaluma off of Adobe Road, and just all 3 of them are absolutely gorgeous, phenomenal Pinot and Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And she sells most of her fruit, but we make about 250 cases for her, which is also awesome. And then I am the enologist over at Cirque and chef for Michael Brown with Brown Family Wines. And I keep myself busy.
What a great lineup. Very cool. And where does Trombetta make your wines?
So we make our wine at Punchdown, and all of my clients are at Punchdown Cellars as well, which is in Santa Rosa off of Hopper and Airway. We crazy story, not to touch on too much drama, but we actually were one of the only buildings that didn't burn during the Tubbs fire.
Oh my gosh.
I don't.
Are you right across the 101? Like where Suduri's facilities are over there?
Really close to that. So Hopper and Airway is across from the old Sutter building, which had all the windows blown out, and right across from, it's pretty much like 20 feet from the driveway is where Coffee Park starts.
Got it.
So it is, the homes there's Punchdown Cellars, Hopper Self-Storage, and then it's Coffee Park. And the self-storage across the street from Punchdown completely melted, like on itself, whole 9 yards. So our building,
what a miracle.
I know, it was amazing. I mean, there's this little kind of Christian church in front of the building, and the minister was up there spraying it down with a water hose, just a garden hose on the top of the roof. And then being in a big parking lot with a self-storage all the way around, I think is what saved it. But like the 17 vintage was phenomenal. We lost power for a few days, obviously, during that. But then here, this last year, 19, we never lost power at Punchdown, which was also pretty amazing because we're on the same.
I know. Everyone went 2 or 3 days at a time without power.
Oh my God, my house, I was without power for almost 2 weeks. It was ridiculous.
Oh God. What am I talking about, 2 to 3 days? Some people I knew were more 2 or 3 days, but that was on West Side Road. I'm sorry, 2 weeks.
Well, we live in Rincon Valley, and we were on the south side of 12, so we never had to actually evacuate. But I came home one day, and I said to my husband, I'm like, I am driving to Calistoga. I'm going to my friend Taylor's house, and he has a propane generator, and I'm taking a shower because I can't do cold water anymore.
A propane generator. Sorry, I'm just adjusting. This sounds amazing.
No, I'm just like, yes, hot water, perfect. Being able to cook my own food, not on a grill, awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a rough few years for California. I mean, California, wine country.
Yes.
Sonoma, Napa. Holy cow. So what is Trombetta doing at the moment? Like, what are you guys doing for your wine club members? Like, how can people engage with you besides our fabulous Instagram lives? Like, what's happening that's exciting that we should tell the viewers?
Well, so we actually are just getting back into the swing of, we don't have a tasting room. So we do kind of these by appointment, visit my parents and come enjoy a glass of wine situation. So we're just starting to invite friends back over to the house to do that, you know, with the pizza oven and the outdoor kitchen.
Heard about this pizza oven. You're making me, and now I can eat solids again. So
yes,
we have a whole weekend planned. We're going to go to Valette. We're going to go to your parents for pizza. We're going to drink Pinot and Chardonnay. And I think Christian's probably going to want to come, so he'll join us for the Chardonnay. Christian,
that's great. And you know, we've got Punch Down Cellars too. And that's going to be kind of, I'm going to try to work out a situation where other people who want to come visit me, maybe we do some barrel tasting or something at Punch Down. It's just been, you know, all of us are trying to figure out what to do with this.
Absolutely. Well, so, I think we've all learned, I don't think virtual anything's going to go away after this because, let's say you're an older person and you're immobile and you can't travel, or let's say you're not older, you're just immobile and you're living in Connecticut, but you want to experience, you know, talk to a Sonoma winemaker or come to Napa Valley. I mean, the beauty of this, like I'm starting to plan my content calendar for fall, and like this is going to continue, and it might not necessarily all be IG lives. It might be like an intimate group of 10 bloggers with a winemaker. I mean, there's so many different cool ways to get in front of people.
Exactly.
And as long as there's someone like you that can share the story and people can like drink the wine. Yeah, I mean, I did an amazing Sunday supper. Gary Farrell is doing this thing where they, you know, you buy the wines and then they send you a recipe for dinner. Everybody makes a dinner on their own, and then you join at like 6 p.m. on a Sunday and all have dinner together on Zoom.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. And like we were hosted by the sommelier and winemaker Teresa. Although obviously the winemaker can't join every single one because she does have a life on her Sundays.
I know.
I think it's very cool seeing how inventive everybody's getting.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like we just have to find ways to interact with everybody. And I mean, if anything else, this has really shown us how important social media is and online platforms, because if you're not allowed to communicate with people, like the main way, exactly, the main way people find out about us, because Trombetta is so small, I mean, we're only about 1,200 cases, is either through restaurants or through events. And with both of those being nixed, it's kind of like, okay, well, it looks like we step up our social media game and we need to start doing more on our online platforms, because there's no other way to interact with people. And it's been a learning curve for me because I'm the one doing the social media.
Yeah, I know, it's tough.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's been great because we're interacting with people. You know, you don't want to bombard people with emails, but at the same time, you're like, how do we keep talking? So
speaking of Santa Rosa, my friends from the Flamingo Resort just joined. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's awesome. I just went there for friends and family a couple weeks ago, socially distanced, of course. And I don't know how you feel about fried chicken sandwiches. I'm assuming you're sort of like, I was like, you're like my kind of girl. I feel like you like them. If not,
I eat everything.
They have literally the best fried chicken sandwich I've had. Like I need to do a fried chicken, Wine Country's best fried chicken, just to write about this sandwich, because I love roundups. Everybody likes lists. So you should reach out to the Flamingo Resort. Yes. And I think your rosé at a $28 retail would be perfect for their pool. They have like this beautiful pool. You look like you're in Vegas.
The pool is gorgeous. A friend of mine had their birthday there last year, and it was absolutely amazing. And I actually they're not very far away from me, so I've been like, all right, as soon as this all opens up again,
so,
you know.
The owners are awesome. Benson and Anderson, they own Palm House and the Dorian in San Francisco, and they're very cool. And guys, you need to pick up this Trombetta Rosé, although it might already be sold out, but it would be perfect for your summer pool parties.
Yeah.
Although I don't really know how pool parties are going to happen, but you know, let's just pretend that cool stuff is happening.
Well, I mean, Vegas is doing it. They're just doing, socially distancing ones. I was supposed to go on a business trip and I canceled it for July, but if Vegas is doing socially distancing pool parties, then I think.
And I know there's like private country clubs in Sonoma that are doing it and making it work. So I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of West Sonoma, our friends from Freeman joined. Hi guys, I love them. Kenny the Kiko.
Yes. Oh.
Okay, so you're pouring the Russian River Chardonnay. Oh my God.
Yes.
Keep turning around. Sorry, you're seeing my garden and the bamboo tree. Okay.
So here, Havana, yes. This is our 18 Indindoli. And so the story behind this one kind of is the full circle for us. Carmine Indindoli and my parents worked together up at Hewlett-Packard in the 80s. And this is when it was actually Hewlett-Packard on Fountain Grove. My dad is still there on the third iteration, which is now called Keysight. He is never leaving. He loves being an engineer. He loves what he does.
And making Thanksgiving wines, which we need to remember to talk about. I love that story.
And so Carmine took this motley crew of engineers down to his house. He lives right off of Vine Hill School Road, which is nestled right in the heart of the Russian River Valley. So it's near Martin Ray, it's near Joseph Swan's vineyards. It's absolutely gorgeous over there. And being true 80s fashion in Russian River, they had planted Cabernet and Chardonnay. And eventually...
Wait, when was Cabernet in the Russian River? Like before Pinot?
Yeah, it was apparently a big thing. People were trying to figure out, they wanted to be like Napa, so they tried to grow Cab because they thought, well, if Napa can do it, then Sonoma can, and it did not work very well in the Russian River.
Except Alexander Valley, that's like it.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. So it one of those try and try again situations.
You gotta try. If you don't,
exactly,
you have to try. A for effort. But
exactly.
Now that those cabs are probably Pinot grapes, right?
Well, no. So they all got grafted over to Pinot in the early 90s. Okay. And the Chardonnay, so I get almost all of the Chardonnay from Carmine's vineyard. Okay. So Carmine taught my parents and other engineers how to make wine just as a backyard home winemakers group. And that's kind of what my first memories are about wine, was going over to Carmine's house as a kid on the weekends. All the parents would be in the vineyard or on his little crush pad that he had, and the horde of children would be running through the vineyard chasing after the chickens and the cats and the animals that he had on his property. And so in 2015, after I'd started making Chardonnay for Trombeetta, he approached me and my mother and said, you guys, I have some extra Chardonnay grapes. Would you want to make wine out of these? And of course, the sentimental value of making wine for Carmine, who taught my parents so much and who I actually worked for. When I was in college and getting my degree at Fresno State, I would come home during the summers before I was 21 or come home during winter break. And when Carmine retired from Hewlett-Packard, he started a small vineyard management company for people with kind of like hobby and vanity vineyards that were like 1 to 5 acres. So very small.
I like that word, vanity vineyard.
Well, I mean, when you only have
I want a vanity vineyard.
Right? Like, you can't really make a lot of wine with 20 vines. You're not looking at a lot. So we would do everything from laying out the vineyard, designing the vineyard, putting it in, doing the grafting. So I worked from him because he's a brilliant man who's extremely knowledgeable. And I just wanted to learn as much as possible while I was in school. And I mean, I still do, but now I just work in the winery instead of the vineyard. And so he approached me and I said, yes, I'd love to. What you're doing with farming, so I'm sure the fruit is beautiful. And lo and behold, this Russian River Chardonnay is probably one of my favorites.
And it's so nice side by side with the Sonoma Mountain because they're so different. It's tricky, like when you go to a winery and they're like, these are our 2 Chardonnays, and you're like, wait, what's the difference again? Like, one's mellow, one isn't, but otherwise they taste the exact same. And these are not, like, we've got our Unchardonnay for Christian. I love both of them for different reasons. The Unchardonnay, I think I could easily have a glass, which would turn into 2, which would turn into 3. Let's be honest. The Russian River would be like 1 or 2. It's just bigger. So, it's a little more voluptuous. It might fill me up quicker. Yeah, exactly. The Russian River to me, I mean, the Sonoma Mountain, the Four Brothers, is what I would think of as my whitefish or chicken or a light pork dish kind of white wine to start off the meal. Or just like a rocking chair on the porch, just sitting on a hot day. I am never against drinking wine on its own, because wine is supposed to be enjoyed by itself, with food, with family, with friends, or if you've got a winemaker. I love having wine with winemakers. Yes, that's always a good one as well. And so for me, the Sonoma Mountain is just like, it goes more with that kind of, because I always think of how do I make my wines food friendly? I want
wine to be delicious on its own in the glass, but also complement a meal really well. And I feel like that's kind of the balance we're trying to strike as winemakers is how do you put something in a glass that people are going to love, but then also is going to enhance their experience at the dinner table?
What can you do on the winemaking side to make it more food friendly?
Well, so for me, that's where the acid comes into play, is that if you have a good balance between ripeness and acid, you're going to get flavor and complexity from the ripeness in the grapes and the maturity of the grapes. And then if you also keep the acid, it's going to push it through the palate as opposed to just letting it kind of sit there and be flat in your mouth. And then the oak is kind of a seasoning that you can or can't use. The joke is that it's a great seasoning to have in our spice rack as winemakers. There is such a thing as having too much oak, and there is, in my opinion, you know, but I'm also not.
We've all had those butter bombs, or just, I mean, I'll never forget, like, one of the wine classes I took. They were basically like, if you can, like, taste the wood and you're like, oh, it's woody, it's probably American oak. If it's more subtle and it's like a little bit less noticeable, it's French oak. And
exactly, and it's so hard because all styles can be absolutely gorgeous in their own way. I just don't prefer them. Like, I went to Fresno State. I worked in the Central Valley at a wine bar, and it was a wine shop as well. And, you know, not to diss on Central Valley palates or anything, but when it's 105 degrees outside and people were drinking wine that, my joke was literally what I would ask people when they talked about Chardonnay is I was like, okay, well, you know, what are you looking for? Something a little bit more acidic and lighter, something a little bit richer and fuller? And they're like, I don't know, I just want something like buttery. And I'm also, you want to be
I knew where the story was going.
So I would ask them, I'd be like, do you want, like, dip your lobster in the glass buttery, or do you want, you know, hints of butter?
Or AKA cougar juice. I talked about this yesterday on an IG Live, that word.
Yes. One of my really good friends in college worked at, so there's this Italian restaurant in Fresno that I think is still there. I don't know, but it was where, like, it was in the richer neighborhood of Fresno. And so the women would go in there and pay their $20 a glass, and it wasn't Rombauer, but it was like a Rombauer kind of knockoff Chardonnay for this Napa Valley Chard that I swear just looked like a huge stick of butter in the glass. And I just remember this woman sitting there with her hand fully wrapped around the glass and her bright pink, like, neon acrylics, just drinking like this. And I'm like, okay, I need to back away really slowly.
I know, everyone has different styles. Well, speaking of styles, we had a question from our most engaged viewer, Christian. He wants to know what your take is on Merlot.
So the wine that actually made me want to become a winemaker was a Merlot. Oh. And I'm going to walk and see if I can, because so Paul Hobbs is my mentor, and that's how I really got into the wine industry and realized that wine could be really beautiful from different areas of the world and from all kind of different areas just in general, especially Napa Valley, because I grew up in Sonoma County. So Napa was like the 4-letter word you didn't talk about. And, here we go. So Paul brought over one night for dinner. He and my family are very close. And he brought over a bottle of 1997 Michael Black Merlot from Coonsby.
Ooh.
And Merlot was my first passion, Bordeaux varietals. When I left Fresno State, I went down and worked in Argentina at Viña Cobos and loved working with Bordeaux vineyards and varietals. Just, to me, cabs can be so gorgeous. And that's why it's fun having consulting clients, because I can work with cab again. And Trombetta is just not there yet, but eventually I do want to make a Bordeaux blend from Sonoma County fruit with Merlot and Cab Franc and Cab Sauv. Most likely Alexander Valley, but... I
was going to say, so, I mean, you hear a lot about Cab Sauv in Alexander Valley. Are all those other grapes also planted in Alexander Valley?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can find, it's ridiculous what you can find in Sonoma County. You can find almost any varietal that you can think of. Doesn't mean it's going to grow well, but you can find it. Exactly. And so I love Merlot that's made as a standalone wine or like a Bordeaux styled wine. So
Sorry.
I like the richer Merlots.
Oh, I know. Do you hear this distraction? I have to go free my little pumpkin from.
Oh, no worries.
She's barking and scratching, and I think it's been about 5 minutes. Hopefully you haven't heard. Let me just let her out. I will be right back.
No worries.
Low for 10 seconds.
So this is actually a bottle. It's not the 97, it's the 98. But Michael Black Vineyard. So for my wedding last year, Paul gave me a few bottles from his cellar because he doesn't make this Merlot anymore. So to answer your question, I absolutely love Merlot, and I love Merlot that's made nice.
And now she doesn't want to be on the show, but she'll be back in a minute. You just wait.
Oh, there you go.
She's not barking or scratching. I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Doggy children.
I have a dog too. Don't worry. He's at daycare currently, so I am dog free at the moment, and the cats are just passed out. They don't even.
Well, I left her this afternoon. I went to the Battery for a few hours, and we've like literally been spending every hour together. So I think I got home, and then I like put her in her room again, and she's like, I want time with you. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, Mom, no.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
yes.
Oh my gosh, we better talk about the Pinot before we run out of time.
Yes. Okay. Let's see here.
We always have to make time for the Pinots. So speaking of Pinots, I'm very excited that Trombetta will be at Pinots and Plaid 2020, which has now become 2021, because let's be honest, I don't think any of us are going to be in a large room together in 2020. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, thank goodness, you know, I met you guys and you heard about Pinots and Plaid and you shared your wines with me, and the rest is history.
No, definitely. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm also excited to do wine tasting events again, which is so weird to say.
I know. I was just having a call with a friend of mine who runs like a luxury organization in San Francisco, and I was telling him that I want to do very small wine dinners in the fall. Guys, I'd actually love you to comment if you would actually feel comfortable coming. By very small, I mean, let's say 10, 15 people. And, you know, maybe it's a 2-top, and then you're 6 feet away from another 2-top. And then we'd have, you know, winemakers such like you, like just winemakers that are part of Pinots and Plaid would come, share their wines during the dinner. And it's a great way to support San Francisco restaurants, support wineries, and get out of the house and do these normal events.
Yes.
I mean, by normal, we're obviously 6 feet away, so you'd sit with your party. So any of you guys watching and listening, let me know. Would that interest you? I mean, is September, October too soon? I know San Francisco's opened up restaurants, outdoor seating. I think as long as there's, you know, the fresh air and we're outdoors and it's in a controlled environment, I'm getting out and about and supporting my people, but it's just a comfort level. So whatever people feel good about is all they can do.
Exactly. And I mean, I think we're going to really see what happens here in the next few weeks with the rollout. I think that's, you know, it sucks to say, but it's like you have to wait and see, because we just don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen. And, you know, we're watching what's happening now and what's going on in Texas and all these places. And it's just like, all right, let's try to enjoy our lives again
before you step exactly. I'm just like, as an event planner, it's so hard. So I'm like, okay, assuming things are going well, I want to do this. But I mean, you don't know. It's like, there might be like a month where the numbers don't spike, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to throw this 10-person winemaker dinner. Yay! I don't know.
No, it's been rough. I mean, we had to unfortunately make the decision for Trombetta. We were supposed to have our 10-year anniversary celebration this August, because it'll be 10 years of us being in business. And we decided to postpone until next year because we just didn't feel like we could have the event that we had envisioned. And we didn't think that it would be as great for everybody as we wanted it to be, because obviously, like, you know, as an event planner, you know, it's like you take a lot of pride in these events, and the last thing you want to do is throw one that you're not proud of. And so we just decided to hold back probably until next spring. So, and I will say this, like, that is for wine club members. So if people like my wine and you're interested in wine club, that is one of the perks, is that you'll get to have tickets to this 10-year anniversary. And we're doing our pickup party this year in August, but we're changing the format with that as well. We're going to do time slots as opposed to, you know, an ongoing party throughout the day.
Reservation.
Exactly. And so it's, my husband's going to Exactly.
By the way, I totally took a sip of the Pinot and we forgot to talk about taste.
No worries. So this is the 2015 Gaps Crown. Now, 2015, for those of you that remember, was quite a crazy and hectic harvest. 17. So 15 was the year that we didn't have any water.
Oh, drought.
Yeah, and so with that, it was, the set wasn't very good for this vineyard specifically. I mean, yields were down over 45%. I learned what a
set meant yesterday.
Oh, yes. So the way that the vines, the set basically indicates how much fruit the vine is going to produce that year. So it's when the vines finish blossoming and turn into little berries, you get to see how many clusters are on each part of the vine, and that's how you determine your set.
So if it rains during flowering, the sets probably get kiboshed and it's not very good. Exactly,
because they're self-pollinating. So you need to make sure that those little blossoms do not get wet, because if they get wet, the pollen's knocked off. And if the pollen's knocked off, you're not going to get any berries. And that's why sometimes you'll see these little, there's shatter or shot berries, where it's just, there's a cluster and then there are berries that never formed. And that's part of what that is.
Oh, yeah. When you're dropping fruit and you see like 8 big grapes and then like 4 little minuscule ones that look like shriveled and like defective.
Yes, I mean, it's normal to see, especially in Pinot clusters, what we call like the ugly cluster, which is actually very normal, where you get chips and hens, bigger berries and then really small berries, but the berries are fully red and fully developed. They're just tiny. And but in 2015, our yields were down 45% across the county for Pinot Noir. And this vineyard, specifically Gaps Crown in the Petaluma Gap, was 55% down for the fruit that I take. So I usually get 3 equal amounts of 3 different pieces of the vineyard and put them in 3 separate tanks, ferment them separately, and then come back and put them together as, you know, it's the same vineyard, they're just different clones of Pinot.
Yeah.
And that year was so bad that we weren't able to even fill a tank with one of the blocks. So we had to co-ferment.
So you must have had like very small production.
Yeah, it was really small production in comparison. And it's primarily a 2.8 clone, and there's a little bit of 777 and 115 in there. But, you know, the 15 was an atypical year for everybody. It was different. There was a lot of concentration, really rich. And I mean, it's 2020, and this 15, in my opinion, is just turning that corner into beautifulness.
So I think it's great. So, like, if you drank it last year, would you say, like, maybe it was a little too early?
Last year, it was starting to turn the corner, where I was like, okay, I would still put it in decanter for maybe a half hour to an hour and just kind of beat it up a little bit in the glass.
You decant Pinots?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I don't. Maybe I should start doing that. I don't do that.
No, definitely. I mean, especially the bigger styled Pinots. So my Pinots are definitely a little bit bigger than what people are probably used to from Sonoma Coast, but that doesn't mean higher alcohol. It's just that the fruit is so much more concentrated, because Petaluma Gap, all of that wind hitting the side of the vineyard, small berries, thick skins, little bit of juice. So that's why the color looks super dark. It's because the skins are really thick and they're really small berries. So you get a lot of color concentration and extraction from those skins. And that being said, richer Pinots, I decant them all the time. I mean, even some Burgundies I will decant, like Côte de Nuit or Beaune. If they're really big, they go in a decanter, because it's either going to blow up a little bit of that Pinot funk that we all kind of know and love that you can smell sometimes, or it's just going to soften it a little bit more.
Well, that's good to know. I'm going to have to start decanting my Pinots more. I mean, I have decanters. To me, that's like a cab thing, but good to know. Great winemaker tip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know people who decant whites. And there are some.
Well, it is funny, though, because, like, when you taste something and, like, a half an hour later, it tastes different. Like, this Russian River one, I'm sure if I poured a glass, went to the dog park with Christian, shared the Chardonnay with Christian. When I come back, the Russian River is going to be, like, you know, a little bit more, I don't want to say mellow, but just, like.
It's going to soften a little bit. I mean, that's what happens. Oxygen breaks apart those bonds between the tannin and the phenols, and that's where you either soften that tannin a little bit because you're breaking down that chain, or you release other aromatics because that's what the oxygen is doing. It's taking something bonded like this and over time ripping it apart. And that's also why we use crystal, because crystal isn't a flat surface. Crystal is like this and jagged inside, so the more you swirl it, the more oxygen you're putting into that wine.
Speaking of crystal, I have my full set. Like, I accidentally broke one of my Pinot Noir glasses in my garden.
Oh, no.
So I was doing these tastings, and I have like one. But I am so hooked up. I have like the most beautiful Riedel glassware. Thank you, Riedel. Look at the Chardonnay glasses. They're called the Performance line. They have like gorgeous edges.
Yes, I love that.
I know. My glassware game is on. And then I have like 3 Pinot glasses. So we could do like a whole Pinot flight, and I have enough glasses.
Ooh. I need to step up my game. I've got my,
well, that's
my
a
basic,
Pinot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a basic Burgundy Riedel, and I love it. It's
that's
great.
The same as
it's
mine, I think.
Yeah,
and
mine has the clover handle, which is a little different. Yours, I think, is all hand blown in one piece. I think this one is like 2 pieces blown together.
I mean, I'm a Riedel girl now, so I only use Riedel glassware. And then the rosé, I sort of like to put it in a champagne glass. I think it is nice.
No, that's perfect with the aromatics for sure. Yeah. I'm one of those kooky people. I love the goblet champagne glasses, the like 1920s demi little.
I've got those too. They're actually like Cab Sauv goblets.
Yes.
And they're like Maximilius's like favorite product. There's like, so if you look at like an Instagram live I did with Aaron Pott, because I actually haven't done a lot of Cabernet Instagram lives. Surprise, surprise, it's all Sonoma County or Central Coast Pinot Noir producers.
Yeah.
And like the Cabernet glass is like exactly what you're talking about. It's so big and it has like 2 little like round curves to it.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get rid of food and just have more glassware cabinets, because it's like a thing to have matching glassware.
Oh, I know.
Takes up a lot of space.
So I don't even let my husband use my nice glassware anymore because he broke 3 Riedel glasses because he can't wash them.
Bad boy.
I know.
By
so
the way,
now,
I used to hand wash them. They can all go in the dishwasher.
Well, yes, they can. However, someone doesn't realize how fragile the stems are.
Yeah.
And so he has been exiled to
the non-glamorous Riedel. I like oh my god, it turned again. I was just trying to like something. Okay, here. Oh, there's my garden. Yeah, it's funny because glassware makes such a difference, and I know we're not talking about champagne, but could we hello from Bali. I'm so excited someone from Bali is tuning in. Could we just talk about how like flutes are dead, and anybody that has flutes, recycle them, give them goodwill. Don't drink champagne out of flutes. Like, this is beautiful for champagne.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And it's hard. Like, we didn't do a wedding registry, but that didn't stop people from, of course, buying us stuff. So we have beautiful Waterford crystal champagne flutes matching and a beautiful Tiffany set.
Well, if they're Waterford,
when are we going to use them?
I think they're okay, right?
Well, yes, of course. They're gorgeous, and it's only a set of 2. But I've used them. I've definitely used them before. But I am like, when I say I like my little goblet things, I mean my one cabinet that I have.
Oh, let's see.
I love these.
Oh, you mean that? Oh my God.
Yes.
I thought you meant, so you'll be pleased to hear that Pinots and Plaid, the VIP lounge, we had a sparkling VIP lounge sponsored by Roeder Estate, who's amazing. And the champagne was served in those.
Oh, I love it.
Well, I have some bad news for you. I learned from my friend Susan at Riedel that those are actually not the best way to drink champagne.
Oh, they're not at all. They're just super fun.
Like, she's like, you end up taking more oxygen, and it was some very informative point, and I was like, oh my God, I just threw it in the bench. I use all those because they're so beautiful and chic and cool. But next year's Pinots and Plaid, if I do a sparkling lounge, will have.
No, and those are the glasses I love to use when I'm drinking. Like, if I'm at a restaurant or something like that, those are the glasses that when I am home and I am opening up my bottle of Roeder Anderson Valley, I'm like, fill it up.
It looks cool. I mean, I agree. Exactly. I guess when we're taking a night off from smelling and sipping and tasting on the clock, because I have those too. I love them. And you just feel like so glamorous. You feel like
it's very Gatsby, right? Like,
yeah. So speaking of sparkling, do you make any sparkling wines? Because I feel like you should.
I know. I actually, before I left my previous employer last year, I was starting a sparkling project. I had actually done a sparkling project with Rack and Riddle for them as a private label.
Right.
And I'm really, really, really trying to get O'Connell's on board with the sparkling project.
Maybe Trombetta.
Well,
maybe you do know the owners.
Trombetta for sure. Yes, I know. I really want to, and I would absolutely love to, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, so when can I go work a harvest in Champagne to kind of pick someone's brain for a little while?
Well, if you go to Champagne, let me know. I've been there twice, and I know some extraordinary winemakers, and I'm sure they'd love to have, I mean, literally, I was supposed to go this fall, and yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I want to work a day harvest. I mean, I think you're talking about like 2 or 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when I'm like, oh, can I come help with harvest? I mean, one day. But yeah, that would be extraordinary. But I don't think you need to, I mean, like, even like, oh shoot, we're about to get cut off.
Oh no.